Alrighty, folks, it looks like we're about to go live. Welcome to Planet Hoax. I am your host, Neil Mitchell. Alrighty, folks, it looks like I'm finally live, and I gotta get this reverb off my ears so I can talk without sounding goofy. I'm Neil Mitchell, PlanetHoax.com, where truth and lies conspiracies collide. This will be my last broadcast till the end of the year, and I'm going to hopefully have a lot going on this coming year. But I need y'all's help, and I need y'all help me out with this. And I want to ask y'all if y'all have any information or anything going on, with the esoteric that I'm in line with. Give me an email at info@planethoax.com, and we'll get some shows built up. I'm looking for guests too, and all kinds of things like that. Mainly right now, what I'm doing on this live broadcast is trying to figure out this YouTube with these encoders that I've been working on. I've tried several OBS, the OBS multi-platform. I've tried the Wirecast. I've tried this XSplit right now that I'm using right now. It's the freer version, of course, because, I need y'all to help me out with that later on. But right now, what I'm wanting to get a hold of is anybody viewing and watching me, if you'd like to chat with me and ask me some questions about something, let's just discuss it, and we'll just have a little fun for about an hour here and go through it. I'll tell you what my stance, what my platforms are, and if you don't like it, well, let's have a conversation about it. If you agree with me, even more so, let's we can get more people involved, and maybe we can get all this stuff, with this new world order at the beginning of the year, and all this craziness going on with the ISIS and the terrorism throughout the world. This stuff with Obama going on, even through the elections happening. This healthcare situation, just all of it. Anything, Jade Helm, just anything in the world you can think of that you may think of as a conspiratory, or something that's just not doesn't seem right, and not doesn't seem in place. We want to work those out. We want to find the truth behind them, and we want to look at the lies also, and the deceit that's hiding them as well. We want to try to work that out and try to help y'all figure out what's going on. I have a friend of mine. He's a bona fide clinical psychologist. We're going to call him Dr. No. He's accredited, and he's licensed and practicing clinical psychologist. So we'll have him off camera for obvious reasons. You know how they love to attack people and ruin their careers. So He really goes out on a limb, and he's a really good fella, and he's very smart. And I hope you all enjoy chatting and understanding what he's got to say as well, as much as I do. He's not, of course, here tonight. Usually he'll be sitting right over here out of the way, and maybe throw a hand in there once in a while like this to let y'all know he's in there. But other than that, what we're really looking forward to is discussing just anything off topic that you won't see in mainstream media. I'll tell you right up front, one of them right now that's a hotbed item to talk about is this Planet X, this wormwood situation, this crazy idea, going back to ancient Sumerian text all the way through even to today, with NASA saying yes, this thing exists out there. It's tugging on Uranus and Neptune, and it's way out there beyond Pluto. And now we're finding out as you read through all of the texts, as I said, through the Sumerian, even biblical texts going on, and other things that we see in our own world. These events that have happened coincide with this Nibiru slash Planet X traveling along this cometary type path that it follows way out there. It's in a centric orbit, elliptical, and it's different. It's at a slighter angle of what our plane is at. It's like this, and you learn a little bit about it. And if it's actually true, it's going to scare the bejeeves out of you. That's all I got to say. But I'm not going to spread rumors that it's happening, and I'm not going to spread rumors and saying we need to take cover, because I want to tell you what, if it was happening, there's no way we can take cover except just hope that we're at where we are and we can survive through it if it's a true situation. Other than that, I'm not going to go into details outside of what little bit that I can tell you. I haven't figured out how to put my desktop yet on this particular encoder, so you can see some of the stuff I've got. But I'll work that out as I go. Right now, I'm doing good just to get my live stream going. So I hope you all enjoy what I am able to talk about tonight. Anyway, asking for anybody right now if they got anything to question, any kind of questions to ask me, I'd be more than glad to answer them. So I'll just sit here for a couple of seconds while I look at this, and then hopefully you can ask me a question. All right. This encoder I've got right now, it won't let me go so far into what I've got. I'm trying though. I'll have it figured out here before too long. Any rate, let's get back to what I was just talking about. Apparently, over a long time, this supposed Nibiru has been around. Lowell was even looking for a Planet X up until he died, and he never really found it. Though there's a lot of people out there that say, well, this thing could be going on. What's odd about it? I've wrote up some notes here in my little stack of stuff, as they say in these broadcasting arenas. Here it is. Here are some little notes about it. As far back as well, I know the 90s for sure, NASA had been talking about this odd orbit of something out there tugging on a couple of the planets, Uranus and Neptune. Now, why would they lie about that? There's been talk that both Voyagers were sent in opposite directions in our orbital plane of the sun, or solar plane, and they've noticed deviations in speed, accelerating in one of them, which would account for a gravitational pull of something. So who knows? Who knows? It could be anything. It sure ain't a little green man from Mars, flying it now or anything like that. So don't go crazy thinking about that. But it is an interesting subject, and I would say, hey, if you can, check it out and do your research yourself. Don't believe anything I got to tell you. Okay. I'm learning it just as much as y'all are, and I'm hoping maybe we can come to a conclusion about this, and actually have something worth of a discussion that's worth listening to eventually. Anyway, the NASA had various articles in science journals and about its existence. I mean, you can look these up on the internet if you just go look. I'm not going to go and talk about all of them tonight. I'm going to make this a minor broadcast, hopefully one that can be repeated over and over again here. Nibiru is its coming includes planetary system of its own. So it's got its own little orbital planetary objects, apparently like moons. Also, there's almost a 2 million mile wide across asteroid field flying along with it like a tail of a comet. And if you remember right, there's several meteor showers every year. What explains those? This particular orbital path of this Nibiru would explain why we have these showers on intervals every year, because we're traveling around the sun, and every time we come around the orbit where it came by before, we're going to suck in some of that stuff by our own gravitational pull here of the Earth. So that would make a little bit of sense. Now, I don't know, I mean, that's I'm not the expert, but those are things that I'd like for people who do know would like to contact me and let's discuss it, because this would be a really good subject to figure out. Since from what they're telling us, we're running out of time. So let's find out. Let's find out before it does. We do run out of time, I guess, if you want to go that far with it. Anyway, they're even claiming that things like a very fast, within minutes to several hours of a planetary shift of our of the pole. I mean, we're talking about 26 to 28 degree shift of the planet going from here to here. I mean, that would be just absolutely crazy. I mean, there's been if you look at the charts, and I'll bring them up here if I can get them on here. I'm going to try to here in a minute. There's charts that are out there that show these old magnetic shifts of our magnetosphere, from our magnetic pole, and it just cruises around all over the Arctic Circle. It's just amazing, It goes way down into Canada and back up again, and this is over a period of at least 2,000 years. I think they show where these different areas where it could have been. How they determine that, I think if I remember reading right, is they dig core samples and they look at the direction of the magnetic fields within the rock itself to determine how these could have happened. If you can just imagine a pole shift of just 20 degrees or 26 degrees, that would put the Arctic Circle, like we've got it today, it would shift, and it would put the Arctic Circle, down near Virginia, from what I understand. I mean, that is maddening. That would give Florida weather kind of like, kind of like Kansas. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, if you think about it, it's just nuts. Also, it'd give Texas a climate like I guess probably about like what Illinois or Upper Kansas would have, given that take. Of course, if you live more temperate down south, you probably won't even notice much of a temperature change, but you certainly would notice the shift, because nothing would be aligned right. Yeah, you'd be looking up at the North Star if you was in Texas rather than looking north. That would be just, I don't know. I don't know if anybody would care to notice or whatever. As for our as our spin, if we had an object as large as what they claim this Nibiru to be, which is 5 to 6 times the size of the Earth larger, and they're claiming supposedly it's supposed to come between the Moon and Earth on this path. And of course, you got the asteroid field will pass through this asteroid field if that's the case, and near missing us, more or less. If you can imagine the reign of asteroids onto the Earth that wherever you're facing at as it comes around, according to our day and night cycle. But given that, if we have an object as large as this Nibiru supposedly is supposed to be, it may stop the rotation of the Earth momentarily. Now you got to remember our inner core is still doing its business. It's still spinning. It'd take a lot to slow it down, but the Earth itself it would turn and stop, kind of face this large Nibiru as it went by. What would it do to the moon? Oh, I don't know, but I'm sure it'll do something. I mean, if this thing's real. Now, I'm not going to say it is. I'm kind of it's so hoaxy. I'm having a hard time even wanting to discuss this without sounding like a crazy person. But there's a lot of people out there that have been discussing this for a while, and they sure as heck don't act like they want to be crazy or act like they're crazy. In fact, they act absolutely serious about it. Now, given the idea about this Nibiru situation, let's think about what's going on Earth today, right now. Humankind, what are we doing right now? Now, we've always heard all these stories. I'm going to take these off. Got some glare going. You've always heard all these stories about this esoteric upper elite society, and that they've been keeping everything quiet for the layman like us for how long? Forever. Well, think about it like this. If they've been hiding this Nibiru thing all this time, all these thousands of years, because it comes around every 3,600 years or something like that, if they've been purposely hiding this from people who are the worker class to keep the worker class working so they could build safe houses and stuff for the elite so they can live through it, that would make total sense when you think about some of the things that have been going on here in the past decade or so. If you look at all the things where they've been leading and kind of pushing us through this what seems to be just asinine and almost just craziness going on, with bullet buyout, hoarding of bullet. I mean, the hoarding of bullets. Why do they need all those bullets? I mean, who are they going to kill? I mean, what's going on with that? You've heard these stories about these deep underground military bases. They call them DUMBs, I think. You've heard of these stories of this great underground highway systems and road network and stuff. Of course, we got some of that stuff. There's no doubt behind that. I mean, military have been doing it for a long time. But imagine they're building facilities deep underground for the purpose of hiding. Look at the Denver airport. Where is it at? It's the elevation is real high. They have built this massive, and I mean massive, facility underground that nobody can go into, and it is decked out for years and years and years of survival. They've got everything you can think of in the way of survival, food, underground cisterns for water. They've got bedding. They've got everything you can think of there to handle long-term stay in one place. And it's at the airport, right under it. Now, why is it at the airport? Because you land there, you get out, and you go down immediately. You ain't got time. Now, if this Nibiru thing came around, if you look at some of the maps, I can see why they want to go to high ground. Because, as everybody knows, the moon itself tugs on the Earth and creates a tide going around. The way it raise up and raise down. On average, just the bulge of the Earth itself, it's like from, if you're like where we're at here, sea level would be like 600 feet, a little higher, and down near the equator, it'd be a 400-foot difference, but yet that's considered sea level where they're at. But the bulge of the Earth ain't really perfectly round. It's more of a bulge because of the rotation. It does its thing. Now, that's another discussion in itself. The experts can argue with me and put their little comments, do what they want. They'll do it. These people do it all the time. But imagine what this Nibiru would do. Okay, Tidal surges, I mean, how high could they be? I mean, they could go inland for hundreds of miles, and the devastation would just be crazy. Earthquakes, you'd have things like volcanic activity. There may be a slip in the tectonic plates, and you'd have a whole entire plate system just shoot right across, just roll right over across planet Earth somewhere. I mean, we're talking about some crazy things happening. And in biblical terms, hadn't that already happened with the Great Flood? You look at the evidence from the Great Flood that you see everything buried in the ground now, in strata, and it's layered like there was tidal surges. If you look at that, that makes sense. That could have been something to that, I mean, God may have placed it there just, there may be a reason behind it. Joshua's long day in the Bible. The earth stood still, moon disappeared, sun disappeared, all this kind of crazy stuff for a whole day. And then the earth started rotating again. That could be like what I just discussed a little while ago about the rotation stopping. That could explain that. The Dark Ages, all these times that we've had all these different things happen. Let me see if I can't just find some of that real quick here. If I've even got it on here, I don't think I got it on this. Let's take a look at this right here. Maybe right here in this. Like I said, I can't get these up yet, but let me get my screenshots. I'm trying to get this thing figured out, and I eventually will. I don't know where they're all at. Okay, I believe this is from planetx.org, I think is the name of the website. Anyway, let's see if I can. I don't think it talks about the Google. I mean the. Let's just start right here on this. Maybe this will give you a start. The 12th planet periodic appearance and disappearances from Earth's view confirms the assumption of its permanence in the solar orbit. This Nibiru. In this, it acts like mini comets. If so, why are our astronomers not aware of the existence of this planet? The fact is that even an orbit half as long as the lower figure of the comet, I can't even pronounce that name, Kohutek. Yeah, the comet for Kohutek, which is every 7,500 years, would take the 12th planet about 6 times further away from us than Pluto. So you could have an object, I mean, huge out there, and if it's supposed to be this supposed brown star, whatever, a failed star, the way they have discussed it, it wouldn't be very bright anyway. From just being that far out, be not even be able to be seen very well. And we had a hard time even seeing Pluto. We had to find it, I think, if I remember right, by it was mathematically. Wasn't it mathematically? Anyway, it'd take the 12th planet about 6 times further away from us than Pluto, a distance at which such a planet would not be visible from Earth. In fact, the known planets beyond Saturn were first discovered not visually, but there we go, but mathematically. All right. Okay, here's an update they have here. It's called the Orpheus theory. You can look that up. It's one of the latest theories released, which explains that a quote-unquote rogue planet collided with our primitive Earth. And I don't know. Creating our moon. Almost exactly what the Sumerians described 6,000 years ago. The Mesopotamian texts exalt the planet's radiance and suggested that it could be seen even at during the daytime, visible at sunrise, disappearing from view at sunset. A cylinder seal found in Nibiru depicts a group of plowmen looking up with awe as a 12th planet depicted as the cross is visible in the skies. The Mesopotamian text spoke of a planet's periodic appearance as an anticipated, predictable, and observable event. The nearing planet, however, was expected to cause rain, floods, as its strongest gravitational effects have been known to do. Like the Mesopotamian savants, the Hebrew prophets considered the time of the planet's approaching Earth and becoming visible to mankind, ushering in a new era. You know, I'm not making this up. This is the stuff that they talk about. I can barely see this. The text is so small. Okay. Anyway, whenever the archaeologists uncovered the remains of Near Eastern peoples, the symbols of the winged globe was conspicuous, dominating temples and palaces, carved on rocks, etched on cylinder seals, painted on walls. It accompanied kings and priests, stood above their thrones, hovered above them in battle scenes, which was etched into their chariots. Now you've seen the Isis with the winged thing, and it's got the sun disk looking deal. And it's got the bird wings on it. Well, if you see what they believe this Nibiru is supposed to look like, with this doubled cometary tail coming off of it, it would make sense why these people had seen this in ancient times and lived through it and witnessed it. This would be exactly what they talk about. Even one of the etchings shows a circle with a cross in it, wings on it. Now the cross means the planet of the crossing or something like that. So that's anyway central to religious beliefs and astronomy of the ancient world remained within our solar system, and that its grand orbit returned it periodically to Earth's vicinity. And they got pictographs of it. Not just talking about. Anyway, this form they're showing here, I don't have the figure here. Anyway, they say it meant divine. Also evolved in the Semitic languages to the letter Tav, which meant the sign. So it's divine sign. Ancient peoples were not only expected the periodic arrival of the 12th planet, but also charted its advancing course. Many of the Sumerian cylinder seals described a planet that's orbit takes it far beyond Pluto, but also comes in from the south and moves in a clockwise direction according to Mesopotamian data. I mean, I'm not making this up. This is stuff that these are actual things. Okay, you look them up, people. Just look them up. In 1841, John Couch Adams began investigating the by then quite large residual in the motions of Uranus. In 1945, Verrier started to investigate them too, and Adams presented two different solutions to the problem, assuming that the deviations were caused by the gravitation from an unknown planet. In September 1846, 1 week after the discovery of Neptune, Leverrier declared that there may be still another unknown planet out there. On October 10th, Neptune's large moon Triton was discovered, which yielded an easy way to accurately determine the mass of Neptune, which turned out to be 2% larger than expected from the proportions upon Uranus. Another attempt to find a trans-Neptunian planet was discovered in 1877 by David Todd. He used a, quote, graphical method, unquote, from the residuals of Uranus. He derived elements for a trans-Neptunian planet, meaning mean distance of 52 astronomical units. That's the distance from the Earth to the Sun. That's one astronomical unit. So now we're talking about 52, which is a period of 375 years, magnitude fainter than 13. How can you see that? I mean, that's a blind man can see that. I mean, that's how blind that is. I mean, you can't see it. 1879, Camille Flammarion, yeah, I believe that's right, Flammarion, 2 M's, added another hint as to the existence of a planet beyond Neptune. The the aphelia of periodic comets tend to cluster around the orbits of major planets. Jupiter was the greatest share of such comets, and Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune have also had a few each. Percival Lowell, most well known as a prominent for the canals on Mars, built a private observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, and he called his hypothetical planet Planet X, and performed several searches for it without success. So these guys know there's something out there. These fellas, but if you read the ancient stuff and use that as your guide, things seem to add up when you start looking at the whole situation. And if they've already figured it out, they're going to keep their mouth shut. What do they need? Do they need panic all over the world? I mean, anyway. He performed several searches without success. Lowell's first search for Planet X came to an end in 1909, but in 1913 he started a second search with a new prediction of Planet X. And I'm not even going to get into it. There's a lot of information on just that. And he figured it at a mean distance of 47.5 astronomical long arc. And it was and it had a mass of 1 in 21,000 solar masses. That's still big, folks. The sun's huge. Lowell and others searched in vain for this Planet X in 1913 and 1915. And in 1915, he published his theoretical results on Planet X. It's ironic that very same year, 2 faint images of Pluto were recorded at his observatory, although they were never recognized as such until the discovery of Pluto in 1930. So see, it takes a long time to learn this stuff and figure it out. It ain't like they figured it up just like that. I mean, this is stuff that... Anyway, Mesopotamian and biblical sources present strong evidence that the orbit period of the 12th planet is 3,600 years. That number, 3,600, was written in Sumerian as a large circle. The epithet for the planet Shar also meant a perfect circle or a complete cycle. It also meant the number 3,600. The identity of the three terms planet, orbit, 3,600 could not be a mere coincidence. The reign period, as Sumerian text gives are also perfect multiples of 3,600 years Shar. The conclusion that suggests itself is that this Shars of rulerships were related to the orbital period Shar of 3,600 years. It just goes on and on, folks. There's so much information. Many of the cylinder seals describe the movements of the planet and 3 crucial points at which its appearance can be observed and charted from Earth. And if it's close enough to see, we're going to be feeling it if it's this big. The first opportunity to observe the 12th planet as its orbit brings it back to the Earth's vicinity. Then was it aligned with Mercury. We're showing these points here on this chart. By calculations at an angle of 30 degrees to the imaginary celestial axis of Earth, Sun, perigee, coming closer to the Earth and thus appearing to rise farther in the Earth's skies another 30 degrees. The planet crossed the orbit of Jupiter at, and they're showing another point. Finally, it arrived at a place where the planet X originally hit the primitive Earth. And they thought it might have hit the primitive Earth then and created the moon, I think. The actual expectations for the return of the kingdom of heaven was thus based on the actual experiences of Earth's people. They're witnessing the periodic return of the 12th planet. That's what these people are thinking, and that's what they're saying. So who knows? It says in the Bible. It says, "Look to the skies for the signs of the coming of the Lord." Maybe that's what this is about, right? The planet's periodic appearance and disappearance from Earth's view confirms the assumptions of its permanence in the solar system, and it acts like many comets. So as it gets closer to the sun, the tail is going to face directly away from the sun as it comes around its orbit. You know, all the people of the ancient world considered the periodic nearing of the 12th planet as a sign of great upheavals, great changes, and new eras. The Mesopotamian texts spoke of the planet's periodic appearance as an anticipated, predictable, and observable event. Quote, the great planet at its appearance dark red, unquote. The day itself was described by the Old Testament as a time of rains, inundations, and earthquakes. If we think of the Old Testament in Hebrew based biblical passages as referring, like their Mesopotamian counterparts, to the passage in Earth's vicinity of a large planet with a strong gravitational pull, the words of Isaiah can be plainly understood. Quote, from a faraway land they came. From the end point of heaven do the Lord and his weapons of wrath come to destroy the whole earth. Therefore I will agate the heaven, and the earth shall be shaken out of its place, when the Lord of hosts shall be crossing the day of his burning wrath. Unquote. Yeah, that's something to think about. Something to think about. In the early 1900s, calculations by the United States Naval Observatory have confirmed the orbital perturbation exhibited by Uranus and Neptune, which Dr. Thomas C. Van Flandern, an astronomer at the observatory, says it could be explained by a, quote, single undiscovered planet, unquote. Now here's Naval Observatory back in the 90s saying, hey, there's something out there, man. It's out there. He and his colleague, Dr. Robert Harrington, calculated that the 10th planet should be 2 to 5 times more massive than the Earth and have a highly elliptical orbit that takes it some 5 billion miles beyond that of Pluto. Wow, that's a long way, folks. That's way out there. No wonder it takes 3,600 years for that thing to come around. That's 1 year. That's a 1 year cycle for this planet X. You know, that's a crazy amount of time. It's a long way. We know today that beyond the giant planets Jupiter and Saturn lie more major planets, Uranus and Neptune, and a small planet, Pluto. But such knowledge is quite recent. Uranus was discovered, though it was through the use of improved telescopes in 1781. Neptune was pinpointed by astronomers guided by mathematical calculations in 1846. It became evident that Neptune was being subject to unknown gravitational pulls, and in 1930, of course, Pluto was located. The latest advances in in space imagery do not rely solely on orbital perturbations, but as a way of locating and identifying possible candidates for Planet X. So you see, there's a lot out there going on, you know. Think about it. If this is true, we got a lot to think about. What are you going to do here on Earth? Are you ready for this? If it's true, if it's not true, are you ready to hear a lot more about this before this is all over? Because it's apparently supposed to be arriving, in sometime in late March of 2016. It should be visible. There's some things going on that we need to figure out and look into a little closer, and that's what we're going to do here for the next few months. Is we're going to study this a little bit and talk about it, and we're going to work it out and try to figure out what's going on. Like I said, I'm not trying to spread a rumor. I don't want to spread rumors. I want to get the truth exposed. I want the lies and the conspiracy done away with. I think we all need to be educated, don't you? Think about it. If we're being willfully ignorant of an event like this, we're just going to be scoffing people like me, saying, "Hey, let's just keep an open mind here and look at this a little bit, and let's not get too freaked out over it yet, but let's prepare just in case." I mean, it's always good for the squirrel, to hoard nuts for the winter, don't you think? Anyway, let's go on a little farther here. The 6,000-year-old Sumerian descriptions of our solar system included more than one planet they called Nibiru, which meant the planet of the crossing. The descriptions of this planet by the Sumerians matched precisely the specifications of quote unquote Planet X, the 10th planet, which is currently being sought by astronomers in the depths of our own solar system. Why has Planet X not been seen in recent times? Views from modern and ancient astronomy, which both suggest a highly elliptical, comet like orbit, takes Planet X into the depths of space, well beyond the orbit of Pluto, like we talked about. 5 billion miles out there. We discovered Pluto with our telescopes just recently in 1930. Is it not possible that there are other forces at work in our solar system besides the 9 planets we know of? Absolutely yes. I think so. The Sumerians described our solar system. Hold on, let me back up. The Sumerian descriptions of our solar system are being confirmed with modern advances in science. Not much different than biblical text. Always, every once in a while, they're popping up and finding out. Oh, look, we found something that was in the Bible we thought was just a fairy tale and just made up. It's always happening. This article will show exactly the diagrams from the Sumerian times and how the accuracy for describing the planet is overwhelming. And that's all I've got in the way of these here. But hey, think about that, folks. What would we do? Think about it. What are we going to do if this is a real planet and this is a real problem we have in our solar system that we got to look into? Well, I think we need to prepare, if anything, but that's up to y'all. I mean, to each his own. Don't shoot the messenger, as it were. Just try to look at this with an open mind right now, okay? And do your own research. Okay, look real hard at it, and remember, there's a lot of hoaxy stuff going on. So if you're looking at what's here on this YouTube, be real wary of it. Okay, look at actual data from actual people who are in the know actually have anything to do with it, like these scientists from the Naval Observatory and this Harrington fella. Look at that stuff first, and then go from there. But don't listen to some willy-nilly person trying to scare the bejesus out of you, thinking it's going to be like in that movie when worlds collide. Which, if you ever watch that movie, that's not too bad of a depiction. The day after, what was that one not long ago about an instantaneous ice age in New York got put into a deep freeze. That, my friend, is a possibility if this is actual true event. So that is something to consider. So do your own research, look at it. Don't freak out or anything, but try to keep an open mind and look at the pros and the cons to it. Look at what is actually being said by these people. Don't let those that are trying to disturb your thoughts and your mind to manipulate you either into doing things. Like I said, don't even take my word for it. I'm going to do the old Bill Cooper. Don't believe me. Don't believe anything I have to say. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions, okay? Because that is the truth behind this. Everybody's going to have their own truth. And whether it's the actual truth or not, that's up to you to decide, because there is no way that I can convince you that this thing is real if it is. And there is no way that I can convince you that it's a hoax either, because I don't know. So what I'm going to say to you is this: like I said, do your own research. And other than that, that's just about all I got to say about this Nibiru thing at this moment. I would suggest come back to my broadcast at the beginning of the year. Let me look at my calendar real quick, and I'll let you know when I'll be coming. I just dropped it. Coming back on. I'll try to do another live webcast, and hopefully I'll have Dr. No with me, the clinical psychologist, and it'll be on January 8th. And we'll be doing this at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I hope to see y'all then, and I hope that you'll be here for the chat, because I definitely like to have this more interactive, and I definitely want to be able to do things that are interactive with you folks. I'm really looking forward to being part of this YouTube community, and trying to spread the word, and of the Lord, and try and hope that people will get saved in this situation, and make it through okay. Anyway, I want y'all to have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And don't forget, there is a war going on to enslave you. And this stuff that I was just talking about, that's being used too to help facilitate it. So keep that mindful, folks. And I hope to see you again real soon. All right. See you later. Thanks for watching PlanetHoax.com. Subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube and Facebook. And remember, there is a war going on to enslave you.